Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Episode 7.
There we go. My name's Brijesh.
Jimmy, thanks for tuning in to Lucky Lotus FM, Instagram, Facebook, Patreon.
Yes, thank you.
TikTok.
Patreon. TikTok, we have people viewing our account now, and they're not following us.
I like the people that are viewing and also fact checking us and also not following us. So that was great. So shout out to the guy that wants to tell me the MSRP on a Rav4. I knew what it was. I know what the sticker price is. There was a point in time where you couldn't go to the lot and you couldn't purchase a Rav4 for that amount. But thank you for fact checking me.
The internet never fails.
Or the was it the other guy that said just because you could do a podcast
You
doesn't mean you
shouldn't do one?
should? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's real slick there, Slater.
Yes, I will never forget you.
Yeah, I will never forget you.
I will get you to follow our account eventually.
When we have millions of followers, I'll say, hey, bud, right here. All day.
We made it.
Automatic.
You know what? We should make them edit for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're gonna. We'll figure it out.
Do you want to throw in one of the quotes? Brijesh this week has taken to sending me quotes that have nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah,
and just been like, hey, if you're in a bad headspace, read this quote.
Yeah, just load it into your cerebrum. Just bust it out. Where are we?
Well, how you been doing?
I've been okay. It's been a long week, but nothing crazy's happened. But it's just been hectic for some reason.
Yeah, I've been very sleep deprived. This week went faster than a blink of an eye for me.
Well, dude, he texted me at 2:00 in the morning, and I was dead asleep. But I can't. The day before, he'd waken up at 4:30.
Yeah.
So you barely had any sleep, and then the next day you can't get sleep. That is the worst.
It's been a tough week. We got some storms coming through, so I'm trying
Yeah.
to cover for some other people that have had some storms and whatnot. So I've been doing my due diligence stuff, ripping through Memphis and through most of it all the way up to Champaign, Illinois.
Really? Okay, I heard it was in Millington. We had about 4 casualties so far. A huge tornado ripped through there.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I have seen a lot of people that should have been sheltering that have been taking some sweet videos. So thank you for your service out there. But it could have been more because people aren't taking it seriously.
Well, do you blame them? We don't get any outside of straight winds and maybe that earthquake that's going to probably be here in the next decade. I think that earthquake is coming.
Yeah, I saw something today that says that the U.S. is sinking actually into itself. So the tectonic plates are shifting, and it's like all of North America is sinking to the point where like the Mississippi would expand like 100 feet or something like that over.
Sucks for Mud Island.
Yeah, but it's like one of those things where it's like it's sinking. This will only take 2.6 million years. I was trying to read about that, and then it's one of those topics where you get too deep into it. Yeah. And you're reading about the tectonic plates, and you're like, "What have I done for the last 15 minutes?"
Well, when you're sleep deprived and running on a dream, it's
running on a cup of coffee and a dream.
I don't blame you going down those rabbit holes. Anything to keep you awake at that point. That's your subconscious just hardwiring your brain into just staying awake.
You know what I love is a long, black, hot cup of coffee.
Me too. Me too.
So we're going to be doing a bit of a different format. We're going to be kicking off a double feature episode. Not a 2 episode, but we're going to be talking about movies. Something timeless.
Yeah, and we've got some pretty good movies lined up, so yes, stay tuned. You already tuned in, so please don't.
So we're going to be going through some ad reads here in a second, but we're going to be talking about Heat, the Michael Mann film, and then we're going to be talking about
Interstellar.
And who directed that?
Christopher Nolan.
Oh, man, if you didn't know that.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you who it was, Martin Scorsese.
Who was it? Will Ferrell.
Yeah, exactly. Brought to you by George Clooney.
George Clooney.
Main actor, George Clooney. Yeah.
Do you think Interstellar would have been good if Will Ferrell directed it?
Do you think they'll ever have an Interstellar Heat crossover?
I mean, if it's going to be in the, not Need for Speed, what's the other one? Fast and Furious?
Furious.
It's going to bring it all together.
Too fast for y'all.
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm jealous of them. They're making a bunch of money.
Forget about it, cuh.
It's for the family. For the family.
One of my favorite things online this week has been there's a guy that shows up to car meets, and it's these guys that are going deep with Chad and JT. I don't know if you remember them from COVID. They went to the LA City Council meeting, and they'd say, "What up, counselor? I hope you don't ban house parties." But these guys have been going to like car meets and pretending to be characters from Fast and Furious and doing the quotes of the movie for Fast and Furious.
I wonder how that turned out.
Not good. People are getting real pissed. And they're like, "What is that? A Supra with a 2 JZ engine?" Someone's like, "No, it's a Porsche." And he's like, "Oh man, you still owe me a 1/4 mile car." Like stuff like that. You running parts for Donnie? Not anymore.
It was a timeless classic until, oh man, how do I forget the guy's name? The main character who died.
Paul Walker?
Paul Walker. Are you
talking about Brian?
Yeah, Brian, dude. Brian. Big Brian. Well, what did it say? Once The Rock came into the franchise, there's been beef going on between him and Vin Diesel, which I can imagine two titans of the industry fighting over.
Two absolute titans. They actually do not film their scenes together. If you look it up, they're never in the scene together because they don't film their scenes. Because The Rock's all about waking up, doing his routine. If you watch the last episode, wakes up at 4 o'clock, eats a bowl of cod, goes to the gym, goes to the set.
Steroids.
Vin Diesel rolls in about 45 minutes late, and it messes up like The Rock's schedule and stuff like that.
I would do that, dude.
Vin Diesel getting paid millions to do the voice of Groot. Guardians of the Galaxy.
You know what? At the end of the day, he's made how much money now off this franchise, and on top of Groot,
plus Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
I am Groot.
His family's going to be loaded. He's a lucky dude. So is Rock, but whatever. I wish I was The Rock, but it is what it is.
I hear you. Just cosplaying as The Rock on AI. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, get like heels or something. Be 6'5".
All right, so let's get into it. We're going to start off with some ad reads. After a devastating house fire, I was desperate to buy a home in Memphis. Time was running out. I was overwhelmed by choices. Then I found Carson and Abby Cook at Keller Williams, and they were my lifeline. They swooped in, found me the perfect place, turned my rent payments into equity overnight. I've been throwing money at someone else's mortgages, but the Cooks showed me the way out. With their expertise, I took the leap of faith. And they caught me, landing gently into a better life. From inspection to the final key, the Cooks can point you in the right direction. Give them a call today. Find them on Instagram.
10 out of 10 ad read. Sound off in the chat.
We're going to move right into the next one, which is...
There we go.
Hey, it's Jimmy Burkholtz, your resident dessert guru. Devour Desserts Cheesecake Box is my latest obsession. I've sampled every sweet under the sun. Those creamy cheesecakes are top tier. My gut's singing praises. My taste buds are in love. Want the best dessert ever? Call Devour Desserts for that cheesecake box today.
I have to go.
You can find them on Instagram at Devour Desserts. So we're going to kick it off with Michael Mann's film Heat, which is not to be confused with the Melissa McCarthy, Sandra Bullock rom-com The Heat, which I was really hoping you did not watch.
No, I almost watched it because
I thought about it. I was like, if this guy watched the Melissa McCarthy
and Sandra Bullock,
well, it was kind of all right, but I just didn't like it. It's like any movie, Melissa McCarthy, I'm out.
Well, I almost watched Twister thinking it was the actual Twister, not a documentary of it.
We're gonna watch a trending thing, and one of them's Twister, but it's like a documentary about a tornado. We just had tornadoes slip through the southeast all the way up to Champaign, Illinois, up to Bloominville.
Hey, listen, I think I remember a quote now.
What?
The Winston Churchill quote.
Okay, what's the Winston Churchill quote?
If you can't change your mind, you can't change the world.
There we go. I like that.
But I think I got it wrong. I misquoted.
Also, again, bringing it in non sequitur.
I hear you. My ADHD brain.
So
running on a monster and a dream is what I'm doing.
Michael Mann's The Heat can be summed up as the cast.
Yeah.
So top to bottom, Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Okay. He plays the main character in it. His foil, the antagonist, which is the good guy in this film, Al Pacino. You also have a henchman. That is Val Kilmer, who recently just passed away. R.I.P. Val Kilmer.
Was he the blonde dude? Super tall?
Yes, blonde dude.
Okay,
that is indeed
such
Val Kilmer.
Such a loss, dude.
Yeah, Val Kilmer, you might also remember him from Batman Forever and a few other films. He was Batman at one time.
Yeah. Okay, I can see it.
It was actually kind of tragic because he lost his voice to some sort of ailment. And so he had to speak through like one of those talk boxes.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't that he was smoking. I believe he either got cancer and didn't smoke, or something happened where it like ruined his vocal cords.
Yeah.
And I believe the University of Oxford made him stuff so he could talk without that.
That's so cool.
But he had cancer, but he's like right up there with like Patrick Swayze, Gone Too Young. I think he died at like 65.
That is crazy because we are 30 and that's only 30 years away from now too. So it is young. But when I was younger, I think it can fit in there. No way.
There we go. Zip picks in the hole.
There we go. But what is it? The talk box, is it a thing where it's like, I need my cigarettes.
Yes, exactly. The don't smoke tobacco. So he had one of those. There's a really good documentary about him called Val. Not to get off topic.
Yeah,
but it's really good. His
well,
dad
you're on the right
had
pod for getting off topic.
He was like one of the largest real estate holders in America, and his dad like did some lapping scheme, which is kind of like a Ponzi scheme for land.
Yeah,
ended up bankrupting him. He had to put up capital calls against it. He recently sold I think 50 miles of coastline and 5,000 acres.
So he was a tycoon.
Oh yeah, he was up there living, but he did it so that he could do a play, and I think do a play where he played Mark Twain around the world and stuff. Yeah, and it was not a very big commercial success. So it was a passion project.
Okay, so
imagine he thought about doing that and he didn't, and then he died. So he's probably glad that he did. So back to the list, got Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer.
One last thing about the real estate. So you're telling me he sold basically his a gazillion dollars worth of real estate to do a play across the world?
Yes, as Mark Twain.
Damn.
Because he was a big Mark Twain fan.
Damn.
He also quit doing Batman because the suit was too rigid and he couldn't act. So literally he was just standing there in most scenes.
Was it the one with the nipples?
No, that's the George Clooney one.
Yeah. Iconic.
So you've got him. Danny Trejo is also in this movie.
Yeah.
You also have Jeremy Piven makes an appearance as the doctor.
Yeah.
So
this was all star studded, and
but they weren't big as stars as you think they are now.
Okay, true.
But they were Robert De Niro had done The Godfather. Al Pacino had done a few other movies, and he had obviously done Scarface. But this is kind of a monumental role where they went from being A-list to being A+ list for a bunch of people in this film.
Yeah, just keeping in mind this was 30 years ago, 1995. So yeah, I guess now that we can see their careers, of course, you and I we recognize that they're huge actors.
Right.
But back then, yeah, it's they were so big, but it's still they had a lot more movies that they needed to put under their belt.
Right. This is where they make the transition from the 80s where they make cheesy feel-good movies to this one becomes oh, I guess the guy that we all want to win, the bad guy, doesn't win. No one's rooting for Al Pacino in this movie.
One thing, so I didn't get a chance to watch all of it, but the theme from the get-go, it was
action.
It was but it wasn't. There were not a lot of dialogue in the beginning. It was just simple dialogue, just watching Robert De Niro walk through a hospital. And I mean, even that was kind of badass.
Get to the plot, get to the gunfire. Let's do it.
Here we go.
And so a big thing for the Michael Mann movies, you might know him also as the director of Collateral Damage with Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So in that movie, he plays someone that Tom Cruise plays a guy that makes his cabbie do all of his errands. He's like, I got to do another errand and you got to come with me.
Yeah.
But what Michael Mann does is he makes people work with these firearms. So that way, if you watch this movie or you watch Collateral Damage, when they shoot the gun, they don't blink, which is the sign of a trained assassin.
Yeah.
But they go in that much detail for these movies.
So it's basically, there were Keanu Reeves before Keanu Reeves became Keanu Reeves.
Absolute masterpiece.
Well, it's, I mean, now, especially with the internet, every single detail about a movie is going to be put under a microscope. So now, you have gun fanatics who... Oh, you didn't. There's only 16 rounds in the chamber. What are you doing? That's not a semi-automatic. Blah blah blah. This and that. Which I can understand. If your passion is guns, it's got to be annoying when they make up just ballistics and what is it? Silencers actually don't sound like silencers in real life. You're still loud.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put it in perspective to you. For guns and stuff, people think that guns are crazy. People that think that they have guns are crazy. But if you have an intruder break into your house, do you want a gun with 6 shots or 57?
Wait, that's
and you got to protect your family.
100%. It's that. I mean, let's not get into a tangent, but when it comes to gun rights, I'm for the Second Amendment. Who isn't?
Let's go 2A podcast.
2A
podcast.
Yeah, protect our freedoms.
Yeah, so... You've got this star-studded cast. I don't know if I said this. Danny Trejo is in this.
Yes.
Which is pretty crazy. So, those are the top 4 people, not including Natalie Portman plays the daughter. Yeah. I don't know if you caught that.
I saw it in the credits.
You were like, oh my God, that's Natalie Portman.
Yeah, dude, who doesn't know? I can recognize that name anyway. Natalie Portman, dude, come on.
Keep it away.
Okay. Another side tangent. She's an academic genius as well. She has multiple degrees in with biology, chemistry, and she has papers that she's published. But back to, dude, is awesome. Okay.
This is probably as close to like, I think Drew Barrymore's in E.T. as like the little girl.
Yeah.
So this is like a lot of these people grew up from these roles, and this is like a foundational role for them.
Makes sense.
But from the gunfire to everything, there's some Easter eggs in the movie that you may not catch, which is like in the very beginning, Robert De Niro's character has a black hockey mask, but everyone else has the white hockey mask.
Yeah.
As in, is he going to make it? Is he not? Everyone else has the white hockey mask, kind of like a similarity between angels and demons.
Okay, yeah, I remember that when they were in the bus together, they were initially going to do something where everyone, had that white Jason mask on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But he has a black one.
Okay. I didn't get that far into the movie.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in this movie. We could talk all day about the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about some of the great quotes in this movie.
Hit me.
One of the great quotes from this movie is, I don't know how I got tangled up with this woman, and Al Pacino looks the guy in the face and goes, I'll tell you why, because she's got a great ass.
Okay, you sent me that. You sent me that.
That's one of the top lines of this movie. That, and he says, like when they're in the coffee shop, he says, why do you do it? Blah, blah, what are you, a monk? And he says, 30 seconds, you got to be able to walk away from anything. And he goes, that's not quite the life. And he goes, I've accepted it.
This is a tangent, but it's those quotes from the older movies are way, way better and memorable than they are from today's.
This was also a thing that I thought about in this movie. This movie is shot so well with such high photography, such like film, that it could be released today and people would not think it was not released today.
So that's where like all of the bullshit here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah, this stands the test of time.
Awesome.
It's a cult classic. It's one of the better movies. It's a pretty good action movie. It's one of the last action movies that's no BS action.
So it's not like Die Hard?
No, not at all. I do want to shout out. I told one of my friends I was reviewing The Heat, and he goes, "Well, I just want to tell you, you look like he ate Wayne Grow." Okay, it's the guy, the main bad guy in the movie.
Well, that's awesome, especially when movies can deeply dive into a character's motives, and it's not just superficial. Bad guy, stop bad guy, good job, get the woman. Movie ends.
I do want to talk about two things that have gone crazy on the internet about this movie. One, Michael from GTA 5, if you played GTA 5, has a very similarity to Robert De Niro's character for The Heist. Yeah. In fact, in one of them, you're running through a plaza in downtown LA. Just like you are in the middle of the movie after they convince the cook to be their wheelman after Danny Trejo gets busted.
Okay, so Danny Trejo, like how soon?
Or blackmailed.
So how soon into the movie was he like busted and like out of the picture? So
Danny Trejo's like midway through the movie. It's where they're running through the plaza with all the bags on there. And the guy grabs the kid and Al Pacino's got it. First of all, Al Pacino takes the shot that no one in America would take where there's like a little toddler under someone's arm and shoots the guy.
Well, I mean, it's Robert De Niro, dude. It's got a great ass. Yeah, come on.
Al Pacino. Yeah. You're mixing up the Italians.
Oh, okay. Robert De Niro, he's the one with the mole.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, okay.
Robert De Niro.
Iconic mole.
You got to think, too, that he was in like Godfather.
Yeah.
Al Pacino was in Godfather.
Yeah, so when did Scarface and all those movies? I thought like
those all would have come out about like say 7 to 10 years before this. Okay. It's like they're already big. Yeah. How did they get these two guys? Like this is the equivalent of George Clooney and Brad Pitt being in Ocean's 11 together.
Okay, and it's so you're basically saying they all put their egos aside and work together, not like The Rock and Vin Diesel.
Not like The Rock and Vin Diesel.
If they could put their differences aside, they could have epic movies.
Yeah, I mean, they had a great movie. They had it.
Yeah.
I will say another one is from like the slick backdrop of LA. Yeah. Like LA doesn't look like that anymore, folks. You're not going to LA and it looks like that in the movie. It looks like a place you could start a family and have a home, or a bank robbery you could break out in a minute. But there's certainly like, you're not going to see a lot of homeless people in this movie.
So you're saying the vibe was immaculate.
The vibe was immaculate. And it's literally a benchmark for modern crime thrillers. Another thing is, the film does blur the line between hero and villain because they're both cheating on their significant other.
Yeah.
They're both ready to walk out on their romantic situation for the love of the chase. Whether you are the chasee or the chaser, they both love the chase. And they both say that in the movie in the coffee shop when he stops them. What a movie. Have you ever seen someone pull over the bad guy and go, let's get coffee?
Well, and I think that's what makes a movie like that so great, when you can get deep into the motivations of why you're doing what you're doing. It paints a different color of the character, and it makes you just kind of, when you can act well and you can portray the emotions well, why do you watch movies in the first place? To resonate with the character.
The reason people like this movie is for the moral ambiguity. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? And if you say it's Al Pacino as the good guy, you didn't watch the movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so what do you think? Just from your perspective, Brijesh has never seen this. I've seen this a bunch of times. What do you think from a final scene where they're at the airport? He's moments away from his flight, but he has like a Walter White moment where he has to go kill Wayne Grow at the hotel. He has to go do that. He has to abandon his love to do the right thing in his mind, which is kill the person that tried to leverage Danny Trejo's daughter. So they had that final shootout in the cargo bay.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's the dichotomy of man. Because at the end of the day, why are you alive? Why do you do the things that you do? And say you don't want to be a person who just talks. You actually want to follow through with what you're doing too. And if you really do like love the game as much as you do, you got to leave the babe.
Last thing I'm going to say before we move into our next ad read about this is another great quote in this movie, which is now escaping me now that I've brought it up. I'm having like an 80-year-old moment. Another great quote in this movie. I don't know where I was going.
No. You're good. It's here. It was it. You can't change your mind and you can't change the world.
I know what it was. It was when Al Pacino comes home and his wife has a lover there and she wants to be caught. And he's like, you can do whatever you want. You can have sex with my wife. You can put your feet up on the couch, but you can't watch my TV. he takes the TV and she's like, put the TV down. And he's like, he leaves
So wait.
He just trashes the TV in front of the bus stop.
So he was okay with someone sleeping with his wife. I guess.
He wasn't. But like that's what she said was like, I'm not your wife. You're not even here. You're not in my life because he's into the chase so much.
Yeah, but God, that is so manipulative and so dark.
Oh yeah. It's like that on each side.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
it's kind of
go kill the person. Go.
So if you want to juxtapose it, and you want to talk about the duality of the two characters between Robert De Niro's character and Al Pacino's character.
Yeah.
You go to the side of, is Robert De Niro's character any better? He tells this girl, come with me. And she's like, I want to leave. And he's like, there's the door. Leave. Do it. And she doesn't. She's like, can I leave in a little bit?
I think I understand the movie a little bit better now. You're basically saying it's their actions kind of led them to their like role. Like anyone can kind of fall into these these roles basically, and it can be like you can see how you can connect the dots and see how the character got to where he got.
No matter who dies at the end of the movie, neither one of them will be happy because they're on to the next chase. They're on to the next score or the next stop of a score.
That's the story of the life. Hope for perfection, but pray you never reach it.
That's the story of Heat, baby, if you've never seen it.
Well, thank you for the review.
All right. We're going to move into some ad reads from Brijesh here, pulling them up now. We are rolling. We are absolutely humming. Episode 7. Like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell.
Michael, I'm going to do you justice in this ad read. Ready? Nesta. Tired of not having the right tools, blowing hours at Home Depot or Lowe's, only to lose a Saturday? Leave it to the pros. Michael at Nesta Woodworking can save your weekend with expert craftsmanship, specializing in custom cabinetry, built-ins, wood repairs, refinishing, custom trim, and much more. Take your design and make it a reality. Call Michael at 901-468-7955 for your next project and skip the DIY hassle. Someday is here.
There we go.
Not somebody. Not somebody.
Not somebody.
Someday is here.
Somebody to love.
Here we go. You got Devour Desserts? Okay, my second ad reads. Call WCWS Law Firm today. Our expert attorneys are here to make the process smooth and stress-free with services like settling estates, managing wills, resolving disputes, handling trusts, and guiding you through every legal detail. Based right here in the heart of Memphis, we're your local probate pros. Reach us at 901-523-1844 or visit WCWSlaw.com now. Thank you.
Thanks to our sponsors. Thank you. We didn't think we'd be 3 episodes in or 4 episodes in when we first got sponsors.
But also thank you to you, because credit goes to you for getting these sponsors.
Up to 25,000 views on Instagram. So if you want to advertise, you get to us, you tell us, we do it.
We are an open orifice.
Do it, open orifice.
Do not forget, we are open.
Donate today to the Patreon.
Yes, 50 cents, $5,
All right,
whatever.
Follow, subscribe, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
There we go. Patreon.
Yes.
We got our actually.
You act like we're about to wrap this up. We're about to do another movie for our double feature episode.
Okay, so Interstellar by Christopher Nolan.
Who's the director?
Christopher Nolan.
All right.
Christian Bale. No, I love Matthew McConaughey's acting in this too. What an exceptional actor. So let me break down the plot. It's the end of the world. Weird aliens, which I love aliens. There's a wormhole. It leads you to a different subspace, whatever. And there's a okay, here we go.
Well, we're still going, folks.
Yeah,
we got live tornadoes. You might be able to hear some thunder in the background.
And
this is happening. Everything flickered. We're still recording.
And yeah, there we go. We got a backup generator if things go down.
All right,
so,
just in case.
Okay, so back to Interstellar. So humanity, Earth's dying. You can't crop anything. There's no breathable oxygen.
Earth has killed itself.
Basically,
We've finally done it.
NASA's no longer, apparently NASA's no longer a entity, but they've been working in secret, and they found a wormhole near Saturn, and this wormhole leads to 4 different planets in a different solar system surrounding a black hole, gargantuan. And they have to so the main villain in this story is time. Time is the villain.
You don't think it's Matt Damon?
I mean,
let's go through the cast. Roll through the cast because it's pretty star-studded.
Yeah,
Matthew McConaughey.
Who's okay.
Matt Damon.
Matthew McConaughey, Matt Damon, and oh my God, the most beautiful Anne Hathaway. Yes, I was going to say Natalie Portman again. Who's the guy that played Dune? The character
Timothy Chalamet. Are you sure Timothy Chalamet's in this movie?
He's in it.
As the kid?
As the kid.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you also got Casey Affleck, his grown up, the guy that's like, you can't leave the farm.
Okay, that's who. That's why he looked recognizable. And
Ben Affleck's brother.
And who's the old grandpa?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Michael Keating?
No, it's not Michael Keating.
That's the only name. The plot goes, world's ending, and apparently his daughter has a ghost friend.
John Lithgow.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay, that does not ring a bell.
Plays the grandfather Donald.
Okay. Well, back to I can summarize it a little faster. They
people got to watch the movie for their review.
Yeah,
so if you haven't seen it, watch the damn thing.
It's a cult classic. It came out about 15 years ago now, or like 10 years, but still, it's still. The message still resonates today.
One of my favorite movies, Brijesh dropped on me. We're going to review it in about 5 minutes, and I've seen it enough that here we go.
We've seen it so many times.
I've seen it. I've watched it. I would fall asleep to that movie. I love that movie.
Okay, yeah, but I've got a question. Then if we've both...
before you get into your questions,
yeah,
what makes Interstellar so good to you? Because I have something.
It's the sacrifice a parent's willing to make to ensure that their children survive. And the sacrifice was really, even though like they had no hope of having any success in this mission, you're still, as a father, you're the you're the only parent to these kids. You're never going to see them again, but you still go on this journey that you don't know will be successful to ensure, give them a chance for a future. That's really inspiring to me.
If you're listening and you're a new parent or you're aspiring to be a parent, that's the whole point of being the parent. Okay. Yeah. My biggest thing is that wasn't what I was going to say about the movie, but my biggest thing is my biggest fear is having a kid that's more dumb than me. Okay. I just want to put it out there and say every generation always thinks the generation behind them is stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. Everyone that's a younger generation always thinks that the generation below them is archaic and whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it's really big that society as itself could use less me parents that want to do their stuff. Like me, but I want to go on a trip, me. You have a kid. That's the whole point of having a kid.
And he did a great job. He raised, like, he was an ex NASA pilot, but still, he transitioned over to being a farmer, and he spent as much time with, like, his son. I think obviously took a liking to his daughter, but he was a good dad for all it's worth. He was there supporting when he found out his son's not going to college. Instead of being like berating him, oh, you're stupid, you're this and that, he just said, work hard. Is this what you really want to do? I believe in you. Work hard at it.
I could be mixing this up. I think in there it tells them that they're going to be a farmer. Like, you have assigned roles in this society and the future Earth. And then the whole plot of it too is like, that we didn't go to the moon. Yep. We did that to beat the Russians and all this stuff.
It was all propaganda, which I can see something like that happening, especially.
We can get into it on a next pod. Did we go to the moon?
Yeah. Okay, hot take. I think we went to the moon, but I think it was filmed all the other
in a studio.
But I do think we went to the moon because oh my God, what a badass feat of human ingenuity that was. Especially when their computers weren't even as powerful as their phones, and they were able to get to the moon and come back too. But okay, yeah, we'll get into that in the next episode.
So I think from my perspective, what makes Interstellar so special is it touches on the past, it touches on the present, and it touches on the future. So you have a trifecta of timelines for Interstellar for Matthew McConaughey to just take you through space, baby.
Who do you think, or what do you think the overarching theme of Interstellar is?
I think the overarching theme of Interstellar is that you have to keep pushing, as in the final frontier. And just when we think space is the final frontier, we might find something else.
Yeah.
Then we find out that space and time are more entangled than we think they are.
I think the overarching theme was love. And the power of love to, like what you said, like pushing the human drive to like achieve more. What fuels it? Love for the game, but love for the next generation, love for discovery, love for curiosity, and that love, it generates like a huge, beautiful garden.
I'm gonna let you know right now, I hate that take. I hate that love is the center of this movie because it's all about science. But then if you don't have love and you don't have arts, what are you doing the science for?
And like, why? Like, if love is not actually, like, at the base level, if love is not driving you to save humanity, then what really is?
You're never going to seduce me into this point.
Well, I don't. It's talked about. It's that scene when he was in the bookshelf, looking through the bookshelf, looking at his daughter, and he's crying like, "Hey, don't leave, don't leave." Because that's what got me the most, was when he was like,
"No,
don't walk out."
He's messing up the watch. He's doing the thing to the drone.
Yep, and the second when he got back from the first planet after he lost one of his astronauts. And he got those videos. That's what I mean. Like, time was the antagonist in this, because every second spent on that planet was what accumulated to a year. Every minute was a year. Every minute was a year. So when he got back, even though he'd only been there for 30 minutes, it was 30 years that had gone by.
But if he would have followed love, he would have gone and been with Anne Hathaway on the correct planet, because the planet, he had the false beacon where the guy was dead.
Yeah.
Then he had the false beacon where the guy just turned on the beacon so he wouldn't die alone.
Which also, I can understand why he did what he did. He, at the end, your core instinct, you don't want to, what do you really serve? Yourself?
Do not go silent into the night.
And he didn't.
I love that. I love that where they read that poem as he's like dying and trying to get oxygen.
You want to know my favorite? You want to know my favorite quote?
What?
When Taurus was like, "It's not possible," but Matthew McConaughey was like, "It's necessary."
The two favorite things that I love from this movie are the scene where you're talking about where he's pushing the bookshelf and he's like, "No, no," because like everyone says that on the internet now for memes.
Yeah.
And then the other one is where someone takes a drone and screws in the light bulb, where he's like, he's like mixed rotation. He like screws in the light bulb on the drone.
I remember seeing
where he connects to the station. I think that's the best scene.
Where okay, are you talking about a kid when she was young and she's like messing around a laptop and like moving a drone around?
No, I'm talking about where there's on the internet, there's a video where someone tapes a light bulb to the top of a drone and screws it in the same way he has to reconnect to the space station that was blown up on the bomb.
Well, there's another video of when they caught the drone with the computer the first time. But it took the drone's perspective and was following a little kid around, chasing it around while everyone was like laughing and like, "Oh my God, that's so amazing."
Yeah.
But Where were we going with?
You were talking about Interstellar and Love, and I was saying that if he would have followed Anne Hathaway to the planet, the movie would have been much shorter and probably would have saved humanity. Or would it have? Did he need to be where he needed to be? Then he himself are reaching back in time to stop himself. But like, if you think about that, that's kind of like nostalgia in general. You're always reaching back into your previous moments and saying, wow, I wish I would have gone through door A instead of door B.
But what was the realization he had in Black Hole when he was like, this wasn't aliens that brought us here. We brought ourselves here. It was like, these weren't some extraterrestrial beings. These were humans from the future who found the technology to create the gateway for this to even happen in the first place, which kind of gets into a rabbit hole of like, what came first?
It starts a paradox.
Yeah, which I don't want to get that deep into, but
when the movie came out, a lot of people were like, that's not how the fourth dimension works. Shut the hell up. That's not why we watched the damn movie.
Dude?
Okay? Shut the hell up. If you're going to tell me that, you're tuning in, you're a physicist, you're a scientist, not why I watched the movie, folks. Shocker.
Sorry, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't need your input.
Yeah. I'm sure people will say it is or is not their favorite. I don't ever hear a famous scientist be like, it's my favorite movie.
It's like, come on, it's a work of fiction. Have a little, give it a little bit of leeway. Like, I'm sorry, but God, the black hole that they had in the movie was so scientifically accurate. They use the same model today to understand a black hole. So they followed a lot, as close as you can with physics. And on top of that, it's just they took a little bit of liberty because, science, there's so much we don't know. So, of course, until proven otherwise, I believe love is the answer to everything.
I've been taking this as whether we should do a movie review podcast, but this has turned into more of a book club.
And that's fine. That's fine.
We need
just two bros talking about bro stuff.
We need to tell a guest to come on here and review a movie with us, and then whatever they say, just say no, absolutely not. Just shut down their opinion until they realize it.
That antagonistic towards somebody.
I think what I will tell you for our first guest, we should absolutely shut down everything he says until he gets very upset.
Not with our first guest, dude.
Maybe plug it.
MMA.
Who knows if he's gonna listen to the pod?
Yeah, I bet he is.
Hey, shout out the 8% of female listeners. We have more female listeners, but we have more men listeners.
Wait, time out. I thought it was 11% last week.
It was, but we have more men listeners than we had an increase in female listeners. Okay. So now it's down to the 8%. So if it's the 8%, we see you. We're out there.
Thank you.
Write us some reviews about how we can get some more people listening to the pod.
Stop talking.
Like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, basically. Just because you can podcast doesn't mean you shouldn't.
But one last thing about Interstellar. The soundtrack. The soundtrack to Interstellar is amazing. And do you want to know what the backstory to that soundtrack was?
Tell me.
Christopher Nolan.
Lay it on me.
Who's Hans Zimmer. He basically told Hans Zimmer, I want you to make a soundtrack about a father having to leave his son.
Ooh,
and then from there,
I like that.
And then from there, he came up with everything.
That's the kind of stuff that gets me going.
Because it was a father leaving his daughter instead, but still, it was. The soundtrack was powerful, very powerful.
Hans Zimmerman goes off. Why did he have to go so hard for the soundtrack? He didn't have to, but he did.
Dude, I listen to Mountains while I work out.
Ooh, yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
My rabbit hole soundtrack that I listen to is Tron Legacy.
The new one, right?
Most recent one
with the Daft Punk.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I. Which one? Tron.
Legacy. Do we go band for band on soundtracks for
or M for M?
We just go back for back on everything. Give it a little Mount Rushmore of soundtracks.
Here's a quote from Winston Churchill.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like when everyone says my favorite other soundtrack that's like a rabbit hole is the Tarzan soundtrack from the animated Disney, and they
did go hard.
Why did Phil Collins go so hard on this?
It went stupid hard. It's like the Pokemon intro. I bet you know the Pokemon intro too, even though you probably never watched Pokemon.
I want to be the best. Hans Zimmerman.
Yeah.
And
Michael Jackson.
The guy. Stop. What did he do? No, the guy who did the Pokemon soundtrack.
There we go.
Well, that's our rankings. You heard it here first. Publish it.
There we go. Thank y'all for tuning in to our episode 7.
Episode 7. This is going to be a double feature episode. Yep. We're talking about Interstellar and Heat. The Michael Mann film.
The way you described it, I have to watch Heat. It's free on YouTube. I need to watch it.
You're going to watch it again, right?
Yes. But you did such a great description that I felt like I watched it.
It is a 3-hour movie. Interstellar's not short either.
But that's the thing. If it's a good movie, I don't mind the commitment.
You, as the listener, if you have
Check it
something you'd
out.
like us to review that is something of content, such as a series, show, or movie, please write us and leave a comment. We're literally just going to do whatever you say.
Yeah. So
It's your show. It's not our show. It's your show.
So follow us, like, subscribe, please. It really helps.
Where can they find us?
They can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon. I am forgetting something.
No, it's just I was going to say
X.
every time you do it, you forget one of them. Like it just doing it. Like me too.
Yeah. Well, at the end, if you don't
Follow us on the gram. We're crushing the gram.
we are crushing the gram.
We are absolutely
Jimmy
crushing the
crushed
gram.
Yeah.
We are going to absolutely dunk on you. Woo! All right, everybody. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. Lucky Lotus FM Pod.
Bye.